Good morning, everybody. It is Toni-Maree here. My goodness, video issues. Don't get me started. Okay, today I am actually talking about how to be calm, your inner self. When everything is really going crazy around you and you're stressed all of the time, how do you find some inner peace, some inner calm? As usual, I'll give you 3 tips. But to start with, I want everybody to know that this is really common, okay? And there's a couple of physiological things that happen when you're stressed. Number 1, you breathe really shallowly. So you breathe from here, and excuse my dogs in the background. You breathe almost, not like a hyperventilation, but almost, because you're not using your entire diaphragm, your entire lungs. You get your diaphragm engaged. So if you put your hands on your tummy and you breathe in deeply and out deeply, you'll find as you breathe in, your hands move outwards. As you breathe out, your hands move in towards your spine. And that's a deep breath. And what that does is a couple of things. It puts more oxygen back into your bloodstream, so it gets rid of that CO2 imbalance, carbon dioxide imbalance. It brings it back to more of a balanced perspective with the oxygen flowing through your blood. That, of course, goes to your organs and to your muscles, and they can't help but relax, because what happens is they start flushing out all of those stress hormones that you've got ready to make you do that whole fight or run away or freeze on the spot thing. So oxygen's a really good place to start. Then what it does is, once the breathing is equalized and your muscles start to relax, you'll find that you're less tense, and so you can breathe even more deeply without having to focus on it. And that is magic. And often, if you're really, really stressed and it's a 10 out of 10, the only thing you can do is breathe. And you don't actually have to focus on it other than trying to do it deeply, because your body breathes for you anyway. It's an autonomic response, right? Just like your heart beating. It happens whether you want it to or not. All you're doing is focusing on that breath. And that's mindfulness. And mindfulness is a fantastic way of starting to get rid of the stress. And I'll take you through a really quick example at the end of this video so that you can take it with you whenever you like. Okay, so what are my 3 tips for calming that inner self? Now, I often like to talk about the negative inner voice. You know, you've got the angel on one side, the devil on the other, and they're nattering away at each other like the old cartoons. And what happens is, because we come from cave person times, and in those days, being part of a community meant you were safe, the negative kicks in more often because it wants you to stay a part of a community, because a part of a community means you're safer, which means you'll live longer. So the negative is actually there to keep you alive. Sounds weird, doesn't it? But it's absolutely true. So that little negative inner voice that is your critic is actually there to try and keep you safe and alive. However, we don't live in cave person days anymore. We've got no saber-toothed tigers or dinosaurs or earthquakes or poisonous berries that we don't know about running around. We do go for coffee. We do have to give speeches. We do have to go places we've never been before. We do have to do things that make us feel anxious, nervous, a bit stressed. Our body hasn't progressed, right? It's not learned that there's another way of doing things. So it goes straight back to cave person days and finds all of the negatives it can think of to keep you safe and alive. That doesn't help with stress, right? So the first tip I have for you is to listen to that negative inner voice, okay? And the second tip is to write it down. Write down what it's trying to tell you. Write down how it's trying to keep you safe, okay? Then you need to do step 3, which is to take a step back and go and make a cup of tea, do some more breathing, go for a walk, you know, get out of the office, get some sunshine, whatever it happens to be. Take a break from caring for the loved one, go to the letterbox. I don't care what it is. Give yourself a couple of minutes. Come back to that list, you'll be calmer, and just go, okay, well, which ones actually are life-threatening? Which ones are likely to cause me major harm? Not harm that we think is going to harm us, but actual harm, okay? So as an example, when I was caring for my mum last year when she was dying, towards the end, I found it really hard to leave her room. Why? Because I didn't want something to happen to her. I didn't want her to be in pain. I didn't want her to be uncomfortable. I didn't want her to need food or water. I didn't want her to die while I was out of the room. And so I found it really, really hard to leave the room, and I was really stressed about it. Whenever I walked out of that room, it was like, oh my God, she might need me, and I raced straight back in. Okay, so what I had to do is I had to focus. I had to go, okay, let's just breathe. Okay, let's breathe. And then I looked at the list of stuff that was going through my head, and I went, okay, which of those is life-threatening? Okay, if she's in pain, a minute is not going to make any difference to her level of pain, because I'll get in there, I'll see it, and I'll give her an injection straight away. So that's taken care of in reality. Okay, she won't die from it. I won't die from it. If she's hungry or thirsty, she might be a bit annoyed that I wasn't there, but again, I can deal with that. It's not life-threatening. Okay, get where I'm going with this? The only thing that really felt life-threatening to me was her dying while I wasn't in the room. And so I managed it. I took some action, and I had a conversation with her, and I said, Mum, if you need to go while I'm not in the room, then that's okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you I love you every time I leave the room. And that's code for you, that if you need to leave and die, that's fine, love. You go. And you know how much I love you, and I know how much you love me, and we shed some tears and we had a conversation about it, and it removed that stress altogether. So I was actually then able to focus on being with her, on having conversations with her, on living with her while she was there. Okay? Her quality of life wasn't great. She was trapped in a bed, but we talked about all sorts of things, and I will treasure that forever, because we talked heart to heart, soul to soul. Okay, so there was no negative positive. It was just two people coexisting together in a magical way. Now, if I can do that in that situation, then you can too. Okay, so here's the three things, recapping. Number one is listening. Okay, so take some deep breaths. Focus on those negative thoughts. If you're at the point, and here's an extra tip, if you're at the point where you just can't think, because that happens when you're in flight, fight, fright response mode, focus on your body. What is your body trying to tell you? You might feel nervous in the stomach. The back of your neck might be sore. Your muscles might be tense in your shoulders. Your lower back could be sore because you're being tensed all the time. Okay, pay attention to your body, and if there's something that feels out of kilter or achy, try and stretch it or focus on it for a moment and try to imagine the knot disappearing or the pain just dissolving into a cloud of smoke. Your body tells you all sorts of things, and it gives you all sorts of signals, and in fact we'll do a video series on that, but that's a whole other topic. But focus on your body. If you can't write down some thoughts, focus on your body. And if you're having trouble doing that, go somewhere where you can close your eyes and really focus. Plant your feet on the floor, breathe, and you will find that if you're really, really stressed, there is absolutely at least one, more than one, but at least one spot you can find in your body where your body's trying to tell you everything's not right. That doesn't mean that if your wrist hurts, you've broken it, or you've got RSI or anything like that. It's your body trying to communicate with you. And you say to your body, what's that all about? So you try to relax it and you say, what's that all about? So once you've got some information, if it's your body and you don't get an answer, just let it sit and it'll come to you later. If you can think and you can write down all those negative thoughts that are going through your mind, try and write as many as you can, and then try and focus on the important ones, the ones that mean something to you as a human being. Focus on your breathing, on your heart, on your soul, what makes you happy.